face of fear on everyone you meet. They come on the street, they give their lives. We are the people, they want to take us alive. Manipulation, torture, murder, genocide, mechanics of death. All through the sky, a new heaven awaits. After bliss, we must stand strong. We must resist. They come on the street, they spill their lives. We are the people, they want to take us alive.
The fucking rebels.
We are the people. We want justice back. They come on the street, say they want to survive. We are the people, they want to get us
Ladies and gentlemen, feds and degenerates, cuckolds of all ages, it's time for Mild's Culture Plate. I am your host, Mild Kevin Miles, and it is 6 p.m. Central, Wednesday, January 20. What is going on with my voice? Hang on. Wednesday, January 29th, 2025. And yeah, we got a fun show for you folks. Hopefully, very fun and entertaining for y'all. First off, I got to address the elephant in the room. The Kansas City Chiefs are in the Super Bowl again. I know a lot of my audience doesn't like the sports talk, and I'm willing to be the villain. Uh, but I'm going to springboard this into the news. So stay tuned. You may not like the sports talk. Look, for those of you who are football fans, there's been a lot of talk on the internet the last couple of days blaming the referees, blaming Dalton Kincaid. But let's face it, it's the Kansas City Chiefs coaching staff. I'm not going to say Patrick Mahomes. It's the Kansas City Chiefs coaching staff that deserves the credit slash blame slash whatever you want to call it for the Kansas City Chiefs being in the Super Bowl again. Everybody's talking about the 4th and 1, whether or not he picked up the first down. or they're talking about the contested catch, whether or not it's a drop or a catch or who had possession. But here in Kansas City, we're talking about 4th and 5. Josh Allen has the ball, and Steve Spagnuolo's defense. Again, hang in there with me if you're not sports fans. Steve Spagnuolo's defense has shown blitz 4 times throughout the game, and 3 times they back out of the blitz. 1 time they bring the linebacker up and get smoked over the middle. And 4th and 5 with the game on the line. Steve Spagnuolo sends his best coverage man after the quarterback instead of sending him out into coverage to cover the receivers. Now, if you're not a football fan, you have to understand how insane and how genius it is, because the Buffalo Bills couldn't believe what they were seeing. Josh Allen couldn't believe it. He thought, yeah, this side of the field's fine. I'm going to be able to just toss it. Nope. Nope. Trent McDuffie in your face. Better throw that ball. And he lobs it up and it almost gets caught. That's the genius of Steve Spagnuolo. And every one of these big games the Kansas City Chiefs have had, I could point to a play by either Steve Spagnuolo or Andy Reid that is just it literally exposes the other team in such a way where they feel violated. But the Chiefs, and here we go. I'll switch this into the news. The Chiefs, coming up in a week and a half, are going to New Orleans to face the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl. Super Bowl 59. And Philadelphia Eagles have some interesting fans, let's say. They've had this reputation for having really rowdy fans, really asshole fans, kind of douchebag fans. But I don't care how big of a douchebag you are. Even if you're dumb enough to climb a street light, it's still unfortunate to see a sports fan die. ABC News, 18-year-old dies after fall from a light pole while celebrating Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl berth. Temple University announced the death of first-year student Tyler Sabapathy, 18, who sustained critical injuries over the weekend and died on Tuesday. The tragedy happened Sunday night at 15th and Market Street in Center City, Philadelphia, where video shows the teen above on the street pole before he fell onto the concrete sidewalk flat on his back, hitting his head, according to ABC News Philadelphia WPVI. He was taken to Jefferson Hospital with a brain injury and pronounced dead 2 days later. He was a Toronto native, an accomplished gymnast with over 120 medals. It is with deep sadness that we write to share the news of the death of first-year student Tyler Sabapathy. Over the weekend, Tyler sustained critical injuries and ultimately passed away this afternoon, said John Fry, Temple's president, and Jolie Bailey, vice president for student affairs, in a statement obtained by ABC News. The loss of a promising 18-year-old man like Tyler is both tragic and traumatic. There are no words that can make sense of it. The entire Temple community mourns his passing. Our hearts go out to Tyler's friends, family, classmates, and all who knew him and loved him. The statement continued. No doubt he had a bright future ahead of him. So tragic, we'll not be able to see how he would have made his mark. As a member of the university's club gymnastics team, Tyler displayed exceptional self discipline and work ethic, spending countless hours a week training and honing his craft. He was loved by his teammates, friends, and coaches here in Philly. City officials did not say whether or not they greased the polls on Sunday, adding that they don't want to release public safety tactics. Wow. Grief counselors will be available for Temple students and staff. So there you go, folks. I was at the Super Bowl parade last year for the Kansas City Chiefs, and it was marred with violence. But aside from the violence, I did see people climbing the light poles, and it's not a very smart thing to do, folks. I don't care how drunk you are and how celebratory you are. Don't climb the light poles, and also don't drive your car into crowds. We've been having a lot of this lately, haven't we? People driving cars into crowds of people celebrating. Rebecca Shields, 26. This is from NBC 4 New York. Rebecca Shields, 26, is charged with aggravated assault, driving without a license, simple assault, reckless driving, and other related offenses after driving into a crowd of Eagles fans in Philadelphia. Woman was arrested and officially charged with driving through a crowd of Eagles fans in North Philly on Sunday, injuring several people, police said. Incident occurred around 9:30 p.m. as a group of people were celebrating on North Broad and Spring Streets after the Eagles beat the Commanders to earn a trip to the Super Bowl. DeShields was driving a silver 2018 Mercedes-Benz when she crashed into the group before being stopped and arrested by responding police officers. Officials said. What's this video? It's just cops standing around the car here. Oh, it's not. Let's not and say we did. Everybody dancing and getting along, a witness told NBC Philly. Next thing you know, a car is coming down at speeding and hit 10 people. Another witness told NBC Philly that an argument sparked the incident. It was a car. She was on the sidewalk and she was arguing with some people, the witness said, drove straight into the crowd and hit probably at least 30 people. NBC Philly later obtained a video of the crash. Well, is this it? No. See if this is it. Is it gonna load? Okay, here we go. Is this like helicopter or drone footage here? Very grainy footage. Oh, is that it right there in the middle? So yeah, she probably got super impatient with the crowd. I'm telling you, when the Chiefs made the Super Bowl in 2019, I decided to drive through downtown KC, and it was a lot like this. Oh, there it is. Oh, did you see that? Oh, go back. Go back. Plow. Oh, ooh. Yeah, that's rough to watch. That's rough to watch. The crash was one of several violent incidents to occur in Philly after the victory, including shootings, stabbings, and officers who were attacked, police said. Court documents on DeShield's legal representation are not yet available. Stay classy, Philadelphia. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, this afternoon, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. sat before a Senate committee to try to be confirmed to be your next Health and Human Services Director. We got some highlights from that. Let me go ahead and bring that up. And you got to understand, whenever one of these confirmation hearings happen, it's partisan bullshit. By the way, going to the live chat, I see Sanglant popped in before the stream. Cheers and welcome. And we got Still Not Banned here giving us a heart and a wave. Cheers and welcome. Let's hear what Bobby Kennedy had to say about why he's trying to get this job.
The whole problems in this country that we must face honestly. And the first thing I've done every morning for the past 20 years is to get on my knees and pray to God that he would put me in a position to end the chronic disease epidemic and to help America's children. That's why I'm so grateful to President Trump for the opportunity to sit before you today and seek your support and partnership in this endeavor. The whole problems in this country that we.
So there you have it. He said he's prayed. He's prayed to be able to do this. For the opportunity to do something about the epidemic. Of course, our favorite independent senator from Vermont, good old Bernie, decided to make health care a right a question. Is health care a right? Let's hear what Bobby Kennedy had to say on it.
Very much like the slogan that you coined, Make America Healthy Again. And I strongly agree with that effort. Despite spending, as you indicated, 2 or 3 times as much per capita on healthcare as other nations, we have 85 million people who are uninsured, underinsured. We have all
Democrats
kinds of
love these
chronic
stats.
illnesses. Our life expectancy is lower than other countries. And for working class people in this country, they are
Look at us
living
suffering.
6, 7 years shorter lives than the top 1%. We got a problem, okay? And I'm going to suggest some ideas that I think can remedy that. Last year, the insurance industry in this country made over $70 billion, while at the same time, 85 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured. Do you agree with me that the United States should join every other major country on earth and guarantee health care to all people as a human right? Yes? No?
A human right.
Senator, I can't give you a yes or no answer to that question.
Oh, the clip cut short. What the hell? Let me, what the hell? They're in the comments. Hang on. No. I was listening live to this, and his answer was essentially that it's not the same kind of right as like the freedom of speech because you have the ability to provide that yourself. Okay, here we go. This one might be a little more. Let's see if this works.
Senator, I can't give you a yes or no answer to that question. I
Healthcare a
want-
human right? Is healthcare a human right?
in the way that free speech is a human right,
Yeah.
I would say it's different because if with free speech doesn't cost anybody anything, but in healthcare, if you smoke
Bam.
cigarettes for 20 years and you get cancer, you are now taking from the pool.
Well,
And so are you guaranteed the
yeah,
same right,
and if
or
I-
is
okay,
there also a
look,
duty?
I'm sorry. I'd love to talk for an hour with you. We got a few minutes left here. All right. Every other country on earth says healthcare, whether you're poor or rich, young or old, to human
He
right.
just
I'm not
ignored him.
hearing you say that.
Literally
All right, you
ignored
talked
the
about
most
drug companies, and
important
maybe
point.
we
Most important point the man had to make about our healthcare industry. Just ignored it. Just every other country. We should be every other country. We should be communist. Blah 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 blah. And of course, there were accusations made throughout the thing, and I'm not going to cover the exchange between uh, Elizabeth Warren. It was bad. The Elizabeth Warren, she kept poking him on this thing about polio and whether or not he's responsible for another government deciding that the polio vaccine was dangerous, and then all of a sudden they had people die. And she's trying to put that at his feet, even though, like, anyway. But here we go. We got some other clips I did want to show here. Here's Bill Cassidy, Louisiana,
Americans
basically asking the similar question to earlier.
don't, by and large, do not like the Affordable Care Act. People are on it. They don't like Medicaid. They like Medicare. And they like private insurance.
I think the question was if he had a problem with Medicaid, right? And you know, his answer about, you know, government run healthcare. Bobby Kennedy said he actually liked Medicaid, and he likes the option to have a private healthcare option.
Americans don't, by and large, do not like the Affordable Care Act. People are on it. They don't like Medicaid. They like Medicare. And they like private insurance. We need to listen to what they would prefer to be on private insurance. Most Americans, if they can afford to be.
And you had Democrats laughing.
To figure out ways to improve care, particularly for elderly, for veterans, for the poor in this country. And Medicaid, the current model is not doing it. I would ask, any of the Democrats who are chuckling just now, do you think all that money, the $900 billion that we're sending to Medicaid every year, has made Americans healthy? Do we think it's working for anybody? Are the premiums low enough? Americans don't.
There you go. We got Rusty Rivers in the chat saying, sup, Mild, looking forward to your common sense take on the nonsense. Look, I mean, this is the thing. This is what makes this show hard, is because I have to be entertaining. Yet you're right. It's literally common sense. It's analyzing these narratives and trying to find something that the other 150 Rumble channels you could click to are going to analyze this stuff from several angles, right? Let me go ahead and bring this down for a minute. And I've got to be able to say, okay, well, these are narratives. These are narratives meant to create this mountain where everyone will believe this lie or this narrative. And whenever you see something like this, now one of the things that kept happening during this hearing is they kept talking about this executive order from Donald Trump. I think it was Friday, where he was going to suspend payments of grants to organizations, NGOs, and other government services until they could be analyzed to see if they had DEI in them. These were temporary freezes. And another thing Trump did is issue basically an executive order offering a buyout of several federal government employees in order for them to just step down from their job and leave their job. And so what we've been seeing over the past few days is this building narrative that Trump wants to get rid of wealth, all aid and welfare and Meals on Wheels and all this stuff, and that all these government programs are just going to disappear, and fear mongering and saying, look at all these government employees that are going to take the buyout and go enter the private sector. It's a damn shame we're not going to have all these qualified people in the government. And seeing all these narratives converge in this confirmation hearing, and seeing the ways in which Democrats will use this man trying to make you healthier, trying to rein in our healthcare industry, trying to rein in our food and drug industry, trying to use this man's confirmation hearing to soapbox about all the things they don't like about Donald Trump, or to soapbox to smear this man as a conspiracy theorist, as somehow dangerous to the American people. And the clips just continue and continue. Let's look at a couple more of them. I don't know if I saw this one
You
live.
said publicly, you want to immediately get rid of 600 NIH workers on day one. When we had our meeting, you said you actually like to get rid of 2,200 people from HHS. Which offices are you going to start cutting and riffing these 2,200 workers from?
Senator, there's 200 political appointees that are changed during every administration.
So if you got rid of those 200 political appointees, you're not going to replace them with your political appointees.
Well, President Biden this year changed 3,000 employees at HHS, 3,750
So
at NIH.
you're 2,200. What departments are you going to pick them from?
Well, the same as President Biden did when he changed 3,000 out.
I'm down to a minute 30. The chairman's been generous with colleagues on both sides. I may have to go a couple minutes over, but let me just say, so let's just answer. This, I hope, since you're asking to become the top healthcare official in the United States in terms of HHS, huge ramifications, and part of this job is to be the senior advisor to the president on health issues. So when we're looking at this purge and we're looking at laying off workers, when we're looking at potentially the president's
Here we go.
offer to try to buy out federal employees, which I would say to any federal employees, think twice. Has this individual in his business world ever fulfilled his contracts or obligations to any workers in the past?
Oh, shit.
But if you are in this
The
position,
Trump derangement.
we pledge that you will not fire federal employees who work on food safety.
Okay, does this guy understand the difference between a buyout and being fired?
Work on trying to preventing things like salmonella.
Senator, there's 91,000 employees.
So that I take that as that's a simple yes. And I'm going to take that as a no.
Run that
I take that as a no. We talked about protecting Americans from cyber criminals, something we need to do a lot more on. Will you commit not to fire anyone in the health arena who currently works on protecting Americans from cyber attacks in their healthcare files?
I will commit to not
What an
firing
oddly
anybody who's
specific-
doing their job.
What an oddly fucking specific request. And of course, Kennedy, yeah, I'm not going to fire anybody who's actually doing their job. Okay, we saw that one. Let's see this one from Elizabeth Warren here real quick.
You said that President Trump asked you to, quote, clean up corruption and conflicts. Sounds great. You've said that you will, quote, slam shut the revolving door between government agencies and the companies they regulate. That also sounds great. So here's an easy question. Will you commit that when you leave this job, you will not accept compensation from a drug company, a medical device company, a hospital system?
What the fuck? What the fuck? I mean, the insinuation here. The fucking insinuation here. Do you know anyone else who has been a bigger enemy of the healthcare industry than this man?
System or a health insurer for at least 4 years, including as a lobbyist or a board member?
Can you just repeat the last part of the question? Can I commit
You're
to
not going
what?
to take money from drug companies in any way, shape, or form.
Who? Me?
Yes, you.
Oh,
I-
yeah, I'm
You're the
happy
one-
to commit to that.
Okay, good.
Who, me? But yeah, Rusty Rivers, you got a good point. Democrats hate RFK because he used to be a Democrat. And yeah, they don't like it when their slaves leave the plantation. Which is why, again, there's been this narrative for the past week and a half about the immigration issue, and we're going to get into the immigration issue here in a little bit. About the immigration issue, who's gonna pick the food, who's gonna pick the fruit.
That's what I figured. I said it's an easy question to start with. And I think you're right on this.
I don't
question.
think any of them want to give me money, by the way.
Right. Let's
There you go. I don't think any of them want to give me money, by the way. Yes. Okay, so there we have Warren. And then she actually continued with that for a little bit. And then Bernie Sanders, Demon's Wrath, in the chat over on Rumble. What's up, y'all? Rocking the white gangsta chic. Cheers and welcome, brother. Look, the way I'm dressed, you have to understand, it's always year-round freezing cold in my office. And then, of course, I had to wear the hat because I knew I was going to talk about football at the beginning of the show. But really, I've got a nice green dress shirt on. I had to put the hoodie on because it's just so damn cold. But yeah, thank you. Always appreciate having some kind of fit for the show. But man, Bernie Sanders. So yeah, Sanders and Warren, they really went after this. How do you make your money? How do you make your money, Bobby Kennedy? Let's see what Bernie had to say about the way Bobby Kennedy makes money.
You have started a group called the Children's Health Defense. You're the originator. Right now, as I understand it, on their website, they are selling what's called onesies. These are little things, clothing for babies. One of them is titled Unfaxed, Unafraid. Next one, and they're sold for $26 a piece, by the way.
$26.
Next one is No Vax, No Problem. Now you're coming before this committee and you say you're pro-vaccine. Just want to ask some questions. And yet your organization is making money selling a child's product to parents for $26, which casts fundamental doubt on the usefulness of vaccines.
So this has been an ongoing narrative throughout this whole process, and many senators took him to task with his dangerous conspiracy theories about vaccines. The man just continued to say, look, I'm for studying the effects and finding out information, and I'm for choice. Wear the onesie, don't, buy the baby a onesie, don't buy the baby a onesie. That's a parent's choice whether or not their child would be fitted for that, fit for that onesie or not, right? Demon's Wrath says, I got bigger issues than parents virtue signaling. No, the insinuation from Bernie here is that Bobby Kennedy wants to ban vaccines. Like, this is the narrative that you're against, and you're either going to ban vaccines or you're going to promote disinfo about them to the point where Americans won't provide this type of health care for their child. And Bobby's like, I just want parents to be informed and I want them to have a choice. Demon's Wrath says, normally I'm virtuous because I had my pregnancy aborted for my career. Yeah, the virtue signaling is an issue. And we're going to get into some of that here in a little bit too.
Can you tell us now that you will, now that you are pro-vaccine, that you're going to have your organization take these products off the market?
Senator, I have no power over that organization. I'm not part of it. I resigned from the board.
Yeah, that was just a few months ago. You founded that. You certainly have power. You can make that. Are you supportive of this?
I've had nothing to do with
Are you
leadership.
supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines. I will. I want good science, and I want to protect.
But you will not tell the organization you founded not to continue selling that product. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So, so there we have it. We're getting into the health of the nation, right? And the interest that we should have moving forward. And we're getting bogged down with onesies, with measles outbreaks in other countries, with whether or not the man who literally has been the number one enemy of the healthcare industry will accept healthcare industry money as a kickback later. And whether or not he thinks healthcare is a right, a human right. And whether or not he's a conspiracy theorist. Meanwhile, some of the concerns about the executive branch staff being fired. Hey, I get it. I get why Democrats are scared. And there's reason to be scared. Today, we had the USDA Inspector General escorted out of her office after defying White House orders. Phyllis Fong, 22-year-old veteran of the department, had earlier told colleagues that she intended to stay after the White House terminated her Friday, saying she didn't believe the administration had followed proper protocols. In an email to colleagues on Sunday, she said the independent counsel of the Inspector General's integrity and efficiency has, quote, taken the position that these termination notices do not comply with the requirements set out in law and therefore are not effective at this time. Fong declined to comment. The White House defends the firing of Fong and other inspectors general, saying these rogue partisan bureaucrats have been relieved of their duties in order to make room for qualified individuals who will uphold the rule of law and protect democracy. The USDA Inspector General has a broad mandate pursuing consumer safety audits and investigations of the Agricultural Department, as well as violations of animal welfare laws. The USDA has been at the heart of concerns about bird flu. We'll get into that in a little bit. In 2022, the Inspector General's Law Office launched an investigation of Elon Musk's brain implant startup Neuralink, which remains ongoing, sources said. In recent years, the office has also taken on animal abuse at dog breeders for research labs and the listeria outbreak at Boar's Head, among other issues. And then here's the dirty trick slipped into the article. Reuters says Musk spent more than $250 million to help Trump get elected. Yeah, so the assumption is, yeah, her firing has something to do with Musk. James Rass says, line the road to Washington, D.C. with the good intentions of virtue signaling retards. The TDS is just so hopeless at this point for them. Terminal TDS, TTDS. Thank you, still not banned here. The dismissals handed out less than a week after Trump took office appeared to violate federal law. The Council of Inspectors General on Integrity and Efficiency said in a letter to the White House on Friday. Fong served as the first chairperson of CIGIE from 2008 to 2014, according to her biography. Yeah, thank you, Cheryl Levy of Reuters, for your partisan bullshit. So Donald Trump got to sign his first bill into law today. And while he was at it, he made an announcement, folks. While signing the Laken Riley Act, Trump says he's going to send the worst criminal migrants to Guantanamo Bay. It's from the AP. Trump on Wednesday signed the Laken Riley Act into law, giving federal authorities broader power to deport immigrants in the U.S. illegally who've been accused of crimes. He also announced at the ceremony that his administration planned to send the worst criminal aliens to a detention center in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. The bipartisan act was named for the 22-year-old Georgia nursing student who was slain last year by a Venezuelan man. She was a light of warmth and kindness, Trump said during a ceremony that included the parents and sister. It's a tremendous tribute to your daughter, what's taking place today. That's all I can say. It's so sad we have to be doing it. Trump has promised to drastically increase deportations, but he also said at the signing that some of the people being sent back to their home countries couldn't be counted on to stay there. Some of them are so bad, we don't even trust the companies to hold them because we don't want them coming back. So we're going to send them out to Guantanamo, Trump said. He said he'd direct federal officials to get facilities in Cuba ready to receive migrant criminals. We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo to detain the worst criminal aliens threatening the American people. He announced a short time later that Trump had signed a presidential memorandum on Guantanamo. He said it's a tough place to get out of. Kristi Noem said that we're building it out and would seek funding via spending bills. Tom Homan said that U.S. Customs and Immigration Enforcement would run the facility in Cuba, and that the worst of the worst could go there. And it gets more into Laken Riley. Rest in peace, Laken Riley. And, we're just getting into it here. I really should cover some of the TDS around the immigration issue. But I'm sure you've all heard all the narratives by now, right? We had Tom Homan going out with Dr. Phil to arrest child offenders, child predators. And the media, of course, like The View, you had what's her name? Joy on MSNBC, the other Joy, because not it's time for joy. You know what I mean? Sorry, Rusty River says Catherine Herridge covering Gitmo. What? Who's Catherine Herridge? CBS News. All right. Yeah, maybe. Hmm. But there, yeah, okay. I didn't bring this up, but there's been this talk. Well, shit. I better wait to talk about that because we're going to be talking about the White House press briefing as well. Yeah, we'll get into the whether or not illegals are really illegal narrative here in a minute. Yeah, in fact, we'll get into that here in just a second. I just wanted to share the news that the Justice Department has dropped the case against Walt Nauta and Carlos de Oliveira, who were Trump's classified documents co-defendants here. So the classified document case is officially dead. So bouncing past that and into the White House press briefing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things I really loved was to cover the insanity of Karine Jean-Pierre's failed attempts to spin a narrative, to manipulate media questions, to dodge, to rifle through her binders, to reiterate the media's bullshit on the bully pulpit of the White House. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new White House press secretary. And she came out yesterday spitting fire.
Just real quick, you mentioned the inflation executive order the president signed, but egg prices have skyrocketed since President Trump took office. So what specifically is he doing to lower those costs for Americans?
Really glad you brought this up because there is a lot of reporting out there that is putting the onus on this White House for the increased cost of eggs. I would like to point out to each and every one of you that in 2024, when Joe Biden was in the Oval Office or upstairs in the residence sleeping, I'm not so sure, egg prices increased 65% in this country. We also have seen the cost of everything, not just eggs. Bacon, groceries, gasoline have increased because of the inflationary policies of the last administration. As far as the egg shortage, what's also contributing to that is that the Biden administration in the Department of Agriculture directed the mass killing of more than 100 million chickens, which has led to a lack of chicken supply in this country, therefore a lack of egg supply, which is leading to the shortage. Christian.
Okay, I got a question. Does anyone know, can you get bird flu from eating a bird? Like they killed them. Why couldn't they go to market? Like that's what's confusing to me. You can kill the birds, but they can't go to market. I don't know. So yeah, there's Carolyn Levitt. And yeah, there was this other narrative of, well, Trump's been in office a whole 7 days. Why are eggs so expensive? Rusty Rivers says Carolyn Levitt is a pit bull hat tip Dan Bongino show. Yeah. Shout out to Dan Bongino and shout out to Carolyn Levitt. Cheers. Yeah, I try to catch Bongino every once in a blue moon. Hey, we got Jacob Castro in the chat over on Rumble. Cheers and welcome. Good seeing you. Good having you by. I keep forgetting to hook up my other phone for the sound effects. Oh, he says lurking, working, and AFK. All right, well, I know the feeling, man. I definitely I was just talking about listening to Bongino. If I've got enough time to get my Bluetooth in my ear and hit the play button, I try to listen to Bongino every once in a while I'm working. But Carolyn Levitt, man, she's good with the media. In fact, they asked her about see, Good Morning America. I think this was this morning. Asked her about was this morning? I can't tell if this was this morning or not. Good Morning America. Michael Strahan asked her about the work from home executive order that everyone had to return to office, and she's got a good point here.
But is there any concern that we risk losing people with years of experience, like doctors and let's say scientists?
Well, most
So remember earlier during the RFK thing, I said there's been this huge media narrative that all these firings, all these personnel decisions being made by the Trump administration, oh, it's just going to cause all these wonderful workers we have to just leave government and go enter the private sector, and that's going to be such a bad thing for the country. Here you have the same little narrative being peppered into every little thing, right? Oh, look how bad it's going to be for our government. Yeah, here we go.
doctors who work in actual hospitals and medical institutions have to show up to the office. We know that employees are more productive and more efficient when they are working in an in-office environment, and that's what this administration expects, and I think that's what American taxpayers expect. Don't forget, it's the American people who are funding this government, and they
it's like she's saying it without saying it. Hey, Michael Strahan, if they're that good of doctors, if they're that good of scientists, they would be in the lab. They would be in the office. How do you work from home doing those jobs, getting that work done? How do you do it from home?
deserve people who are actually showing up to work on their behalf.
Well, but is there any concern that we risk?
Rusty Rivers says, go sack Favre and stop asking stupid questions. Yeah. Michael Strahan was better before he decided to enter the media. But, again, as a Kansas City Chiefs fan, I didn't like him very much then either. All right. So there you had that narrative being popped up again. And, of course, The View had to respond to how well she was received. Now, this is the thing. Conservatives were like, oh my God, this is a breath of fresh air. This is this, and that. And you got to understand, the left wing had to get their spin. The left wing had to get their spin. And, so here's what The View had to say about our new press secretary.
I think she's probably been put in there because according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though. It's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
So, yeah, she's so young. It's her first job. And he just put her in there because she's pretty. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what feminists think of you. They're feminist until they don't want to be feminist anymore. They're feminists until they perceive an enemy. Then it's, she doesn't have the experience. She's just there because she's pretty. She's doing a way better job than the last three or two. Excuse me. And then we have this. This is what I really want to get into. I'll get into the egg thing in a second. Remind me about the egg thing if I don't get into it after. But see, I'll be moving back into the immigration thing for a few minutes. But remind me about the egg thing if I go back to the immigration thing without talking about the eggs. So here we go.
Immigration. Of the 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office, can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
You made a point of the worst for
Okay, so here's a media narrative. When I said I'm getting into immigration, I wasn't necessarily talking about this. I'm talking about the actual deportation. But this particular media narrative is a disagreement on how to read the Constitution, how to read previous court cases. And I've seen a lot of leftists playing stupid, so to speak. And then I've seen the right wing act like we don't know what the fuck the left is talking about. So let me break this down. This difference between the right and the left on this issue. There are people on the internet that are saying being in this country illegally is not a crime. It's a civil penalty. What they are referring to very specifically, very narrowly, is the act of overstaying your visa. There are a few other way more rare instances where you might be in the country legally without breaking a law, so to speak. But the difference, yes, you're breaking a law, but it's the difference between like a civil penalty, like a fine, or revoking of a license or revoking of your visa status. Rusty Rivers says, was anybody else this badass on the first day ever? I mean, look, a lot of my jobs in any of the fields I had some experience at, yeah, I was pretty badass on my first day, but I was not this badass. And definitely not at age 26 or whatever she is. Still not banned here is giving me cowboy gunfire. Cowboy gunfire emojis. Rootin' tootin' shooting. But anyway, so they're talking about the difference between overstayed visas versus crossing the border. The act of crossing the border illegally is a criminal penalty. It is a crime. Overstaying a visa, that's not prison time, it's not jail time. However, the law, the same law that says crossing a border illegally also says, let me bring this up. I'm sure somebody's put it on fucking Twitter. Fuck it. Any alien who enters or attempts to enter the United States at any time or any place other than as designated by immigration officers, or eludes examination or inspection by immigration officers, attempts or entertains entry into the United States by falsely or misleading representation, blah, 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 right? And then here's the improper place or time, civil penalties, right? So this is the civil penalties. Okay, where was the other part? There was another part to this. Hang on. Damn it. I swear to God, I was reading this earlier. This isn't the one. But there's also a part of it that is or refuses removal, right? So if you overstay your visa and then we set forth on deporting you, then yes, you're committing a crime if you don't cooperate. And so yes, technically, if you're splitting hairs, then yes, these families that overstayed their visas aren't criminals, but they still deserve to be deported. And upon the act of beginning their deportation, if they don't cooperate, they are criminals. I don't understand why we're splitting hairs on this. But again, it's more of this far left-wing narrative that Republicans are so heartless. Republicans want to break up families. Trump just is racist and real quick. Let me get on the eggs before I get too far down this rabbit hole of deportation. Which brings me to the eggs. I've said several times on this program that the most dangerous thing happening in America right now is the inflation of our currency. And you, my friends, can avoid that by buying gold from my sponsor. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm not promoting any product here. But definitely you should hedge, get a hedge against inflation by investing in an alternative to currency, investing in either resources or I'm not going to tell you to buy crypto because a lot of it out there can be kind of shady. Do your research. Speak with a financial advisor about what investments are a good hedge against the US dollar. But ultimately, the idea that this is all of a sudden a crisis, 5 days into the Trump administration. The eggs, my prices. I thought you said you were going to save us from the grocery store, Mr. Trump. My eggs. They're pulling straws, man. They're grasping at straws. They're grasping at whatever they can get a hold of. Because as long as they can keep the conversation about eggs, they don't have to have the conversation about spending. They don't have to have the conversation about our bloated government. As long as it's about my jobs and my eggs, then maybe they can distract Americans from seeing how good of a job gutting this much of our government waste really is. They cut, was that $50 million worth of condoms to Gaza? They put Doge on the debt clock. Let me see if I can bring that up. Look at this. They got our Doge savings in real time on the US debt clock. I don't think it's 35 trillion yet, is it? Yeah, I think that's that might be a little optimistic there. Yeah, look, paper to gold ratio 127.55 to 1. $9,726 an ounce. Wow. All right. Anyway, folks, this is literally the only path. Literally the only path. And all of these creatures that come out of the woodwork saying how dangerous this path is, they are your enemy. I'm not advocating violence. I'm not advocating anything other than being educated as to what these people are telling you to do. And honestly, let's look at their heroes.
Just want to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. The children. They don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do. I'll try everything, I promise.
So while Joy Reid and The View and CNN are calling out Dr. Phil and Kristi Noem, excuse me, for virtue signaling by tagging along on ICE raids, they're not saying shit. They're not saying shit about Selena Gomez and her obvious staged video here that she's now deleted, by the way. Because the solution is obvious. If you care this much, if you care enough to set up a camera to cry. Look, I cried on my stream last week. Seeing families be reunited after being stuck in prison. And in Ross Ulbricht's case, over a decade. I'm sorry if I got a little emotional. Because I've got a lot of family members I miss. And being able to see someone hug a loved one who they haven't got to eat a meal with. Haven't got to take a drive with. Haven't got to go to a park with. Legitimately saddened me. My people, if you care for these people as much as I cared for those families, and look, this offer's on the table. Any J6er that wants to have a meal with me, I will buy you a meal and have a chat with you for an hour. You just got to come to KC because I can't fly. Can't afford it. I'll drive up to KC, though, and have a meal with you. There's a lot of decent restaurants over by the airport up there. I'll buy you a meal. We'll have a good meal together. I'll chat with you. What are you doing? What are you willing to do, Miss Millionaire, Miss Actress, Singer Selena Gomez? What are you willing to do for your people? You willing to take them up into your mansion? No, I'm willing to set up a camera and cry. Why? Because my last name is Gomez. And people will associate me with la people. Well, let's hear it from the Mexican journalists themselves.
Mexico cannot cope. Not sure any country can, but Mexico can't cope with like a sudden influx of millions of people. I mean,
Oh, really? Really? I don't think any country can. Well, what happened? I thought the United States could, but you said you don't think any country can.
I mean, as much as she wants to embrace them, to use her word, when they come back and make them feel welcome, it all sounds very nice when you're listening to it, but the reality of that is just completely unsustainable. A lot of these people have lived in the US for decades. They have lives there, they have families, they're good standing citizens. So they're not in a position to just be deported and say like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to come back here and take a job making a fraction of what I used to make and go to my town where I don't have anything left, which is maybe it's been overrun by violence. I mean, it's unrealistic to think that that wouldn't.
Oh, really? So they don't want to have to work for cheaper wages and have their towns overrun with violence. Amazing how the tables have turned.
Lead to a crisis.
Lead to a crisis. Oh, wow. All right. Ultimately, we're not at a crossroads. We're at a pendulum swing. And you're seeing the communists, the globalists, the corrupt. They're all trying. They're trying to tug at that pendulum to get it to stop swinging. They're throwing every distraction, every narrative, every lie. And just like the title of today's stream, they want you to forget about the cost of freedom by distracting you with the cost of eggs. And as I've said several times on this stream, prices are going to go up. They have to go up. But you have to be glad to pay the short-term cost to understand the long-term advantages of freedom. To understand the long-term advantage of having a competitive labor market in which you can work. Having the advantage of a long-term labor market where you have value. I don't care if eggs are $30 because a dollar is just a number. Think of it like a ruler. How big is an inch really? Well, what are you comparing that inch to? You comparing it to a race car track or my desk? I can't fit a race car track in my garage. I can fit my desk in my garage. Everything is relative. I don't care if eggs are $20 if I have thousands in my wallet. But the problem is the last administration, and really every administration before it, at least in my lifetime, wanted to deficit spend, wanted the Federal Reserve to print money, wanted to make it easy to get loans, until everyone was in so much debt to the banks that the value of their dollar, I mean, literally, you cannot buy a roll of toilet paper less than $1. The dollar is worth less than toilet paper. Let me flip over and just make sure nobody has donated any money to the show. I don't see any on Rumble. Let me check the YouTube. Then I'll wrap up. Looks like we've had nobody chatting on YouTube. Looks like I scared off Cookie for an afternoon. Stay vigilant, people. Stay vigilant. The more we win, the more they'll scream, and the more the pendulum will tighten. The more things will start to look like the winning has stopped. Steadfast, folks. Demon's Wrath says, I want to go back to 23 cents a dozen eggs. That literally was the price in 2019. I mean, but again, what is 23 cents? You got to stop thinking of it in terms of dollars and more in terms of hours of your labor in effort to obtain. Now, granted, right now there's an egg shortage. It's hard to find a dozen eggs. When you do find them, the prices are up due to demand. But eventually we'll have more chickens. It's going to take a while, but eventually we'll have more chickens. And eventually those chickens will lay more eggs. But let me be honest. Hey, we got Sanglan 86 saying howda. Cheers and welcome, brother. I'll be honest, if the conspiracy theorist part of my brain doesn't say, isn't it real fucking convenient that we have this bird flu and had to kill off a large part of our food supply in this country right before Donald Trump took office? Remember, we played the clip here. Trump's going to have to deal with all these pandemics right when he takes office. Now you've got the fear mongering. And now you have my egg prices. Demon's Wrath says the day pork chops become 99 cents a pound again, I'm going to eat a dozen chops for real. Again, Demon's Wrath, you got to understand the market, the money market, inflation. 99 cent a pound chops are gone. Unless you are raising the pigs yourself. 99 cent a pound pork chops are gone. It's not 99 cents a pound. It's whatever you were earning an hour per hour or per year divided by whatever was 99 cents. It's that fraction of time per pound. You got to understand. You got to start thinking of money like that. We have too many old folks, too many old hats that think about money in this 1980s mentality. You have to understand hyperinflation and rapid economic growth. They go hand in hand. And as long as GDP GDP and wages and the inflation all kind of stay together, then cost doesn't matter a bit. The price increase should not matter a bit because you're paying for it with increments of your labor and your earning potential. We measure that in dollars, but we got to stop thinking of it in those terms because that number is going to just get exponentially bigger in the coming years. We're going to be paying $10 a gallon for gas, $10 a gallon for milk. But you got to understand, it's not like the $10 we earned in 1996 is the same $10 we earn today. It's a different fraction. Sangland 86 says you're most vulnerable when you think you've won. Yeah. And look, I'm going to say it. I don't like saying it, but you always have to be open to the possibility that Trump could turn, that Elon Musk could turn, that those in serious positions of power in our country could turn and start working with the globalists. Stevens Rest says, hoping eventually the market will stabilize. Maybe there'll be a decade-long wage freeze. Well, that's just it. You don't want a wage freeze either. You know, this is one of the things. I'm not big on the minimum wage increase movements. I don't like them. But there is a place for having a conversation about trying to tie people's wage increases to the CPI. Because the fact that people's wages aren't keeping up with the rest of the markets it's a leftist issue, but it is a problem. It is a problem with growth and sustainability for the whole country. But ultimately, the answer to that is in the market, in the money markets, and in people's ability to produce something on their own and earn on their own. Like Rusty Rivers says here, self-sustain as much as you can. Then Demon's Wrath again, judging by grocery bills between 2019 and today, our money is worth about 50% less than then. Eggs are over 10 times more expensive in real terms. In dollars. In dollars, but not in fractions of your wage, right? Not in fractions of your income. Now, granted, some people, they don't make a whole lot more than what they made in 2019. I don't make a whole lot more than what I made in 2019, but I make enough. I make enough that it still covers the bills. It still covers the increased food costs. It hasn't kept up with the increases, but it's enough. Again, you have to think about it in terms of your earning potential. And I don't mean like, well, I got the potential to work 50 more hours a week. No, I just mean the same effort that you put into your labor, was it 6 years ago? Are you getting the same dollar value out of it? And that's the conversation we need to be having as a nation. That's the conversation that we're not having when we're talking about the price of eggs, when we're talking about bird flu causing a chicken shortage. And the fact that, mark my words, I'm going to come on here Saturday, you're going to hear more stories about the bird flu. You're going to hear more stories about the egg shortage. You're going to hear more stories about how the Trump administration has not reduced prices in the grocery store yet. And you're going to hear more stories about everything from how evil our immigration policy is all of a sudden, to federal government jobs and how it's going to crash our economy. That's the next narrative. It's going to crash our economy, not having all this federal government money being funneled through all these jobs. And all these people are going to be without a job, and it's going to cause our economy to stagnate. That's the next narrative. Watch for it, folks. Humans Rat said the only thing that kept up doing good was the fact both me and my wife work. Yeah, I mean, same here. It sucks. But anyway, Rusty River says, good show. Got to go. See you next time I can catch it. Thank you, Mild. And yeah, I'm going to wrap up also, folks. Sorry that rant went kind of long. If you can, hit that thumbs up button. Give me a push of that thumb on your way out. And anybody that might be new here lurking, come in, say hi. This Saturday, 6 p.m. Central, same bat time, same bat channel. We'll be doing this all over again, and we'll have the Love Don't Judge and all that. So yeah, down in the description are links to all my social media and other video platforms. And yeah, whether you're on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, or Locals, hey, love having you by. And yeah, until next time, folks, take care of yourselves and each other. Outlast the haters. Don't get any on you. And if you do, rub that shit in real good. I'm not going to raid anybody. Please go find somebody that's live right now and give them a follow. I'm sorry, it's just getting a little too late. Y'all have a good rest of your week, and I'll see you this weekend. No football. No football this weekend unless you count the Pro Bowl, but I don't. So take care, everybody.